If you're at all compelled about the longevity and expansion of the Mr. T Show, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Links below. Hey up, fools! Big T, and I'm back with another video. As a collector, and I use that term loosely because I don't actively seek collecting. I actually buy stuff that I want to play, but that just tends to be a lot of stuff, and there is a preservationist kind of nature inside of me where I really care about the culture of video games, and I want to preserve them in my own way. So I guess that's where my collector nature comes in. And there's been a debate for a while about digital games versus physical games, and where I fall in on that is, if I can buy it physically, I will, and that is regardless if it's more expensive or not. I've done videos talking about the Switch tax and how I don't mind paying more for cartridges because of the benefit of having a game on cartridge, the longevity of it, the load times, and that kind of stuff like that. I just, obviously discs get scratched and they don't last as long as carts do, and that to me is important, to be able to preserve that piece of gaming history. But there are games out there that will not be preserved in any physical form pretty much ever. There are trends where people download or hack a digital game and they will put it onto a physical media. And I'm not talking about I can't remember the name of the company that actively seeks out digital games and distributes them physically. They've done really well on PS4. They're starting to do stuff on Switch now. I'll put their name up if I can't remember. But there are games that doesn't really matter for. And I'm talking about basically the online, basically only multiplayer shooter games out there that are a straight up service basically, and whenever that service is over, that game is lost to the annals of history in any physical form. I mean, you'll have physical media talking about it, you'll have some magazines and stuff, but the game will just be once the servers are down for the multiplayer aspect of it and there's no more updates and all that kind of stuff, that game is just gone to the annals of gaming history. And I'm talking about games like the resurgent Fortnite and PUBG now, and games like Overwatch, and I guess even like Destiny. I don't really know all the intricacies of Destiny, but I'm pretty sure it's it's focused online. It's mainly online, and this is a different thing in video gaming. We've had genres come and go and start to come back now, actually, with the whole renaissance of the retro games and genres, but we've never really had a situation where games were permanently gone. Games that were really super popular, even at some point, permanently gone. There'll be sequels to some of these games, so they'll continue on in that way, but the original will not be playable, outside of people hacking them and having their own servers online and stuff like that. That will happen, I'm sure, but as intended, that game will not exist in the future, 5-10 years down the line. And as a guy who has hundreds and literally hundreds of physical games in my collection, that bothers me. And a lot of people don't really care about that stuff. Actually, me and Terminator Juice are kind of different on as far as digital games. He feels that there's certain games that, you know, he doesn't mind downloading. And, you know, if I have no other choice, like, and I'm talking about single player games, if I have no other choice but to download a game, I will. I reluctantly downloaded Fatal Frame, 5 on Wii U, like at the last minute, because I was holding out hoping for a physical copy, which never came in the West. And that game, for me, games like that just right off the bat have less value to me than a physical game, because it's just a digital footprint on my hard drive that might die one day. I'm sure it will die, you know. And there'll be no way to re-download it or anything like that, and that game will just be gone forever for me. Obviously, there are other versions of that game, specifically Fatal Frame, but I mean, like, basically a lot of indie games. Most indie games never end up in a physical media whatsoever, and they'll just be gone. Once they're gone, once your hard drive fails or your SD card or whatever fails, that game will just be gone. You can rebuy it in a digital form, I guess, but that's just, you know, part of the cycle. And for me, that bothers me, that there are video games that people, artists, designers have worked on for years, and someday no one will, outside of, you know, some kind of virtual media, you know, article or somebody talking about it, there will be no way to play that game as intended in the future. And it just bothers me. It's not the end of video game or anything like that. It's just I guess it's just a new genre, if you will, in video games, where you have these online only games that are kind of throwaways after a while, and no one will ever care or play that stuff again. And that's what bothers me about Splatoon and Splatoon 2, because there's such good games, and a lot of these games that I talked about are also such good games. It's just shame, that people in the future will not be able to play them as intended. And one of the things I really want for Splatoon, and Red Knight included, talked about it, is bots. The AI, like Octolings in Splatoon 1 and 2, can be very good, and just with some more programming and tweaking, they can be even better, and that will make that game, playable. Obviously, you won't have the online component, you won't have all the modes and all that stuff, but you'll still at least get the feel of Splatoon, 1 and 2, whatever, years from now, if you're able to play against AI opponents that, can feel like you're battling human opponents. And to me, it's just a shame that, some of these companies, especially with Nintendo, because they really value in their games. They want to bring, it's one of their principal things about creating video games is those games having value. And that's one way to add value to a game like that in any other sense would not be able to go on and be played in the future. So yeah, it's just a sad thing to me, a trend. It's not a trend. I don't think every game is going to do that. Eventually, every game might just be a digital download. And to me, that's, I'll probably be long done from gaming as far as actively buying new games. There's so much stuff that I haven't played that I want to go back to. And if, video games go all digital, I just can't see myself caring as much about the culture of video games at that point. And so I'm sure I'll feel very differently. So yeah, what do you guys think? How do you feel about digital games? How do you feel about online only multiplayer games, and the trend and the future of those types of games, and where you think it's going to go? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you as always for watching and listening, and I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.